Coming to you from beautiful Death Mountain in the land of Hyrule, welcome everyone to Qualifier number 4 in the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past 2019 tournament, Randomizer tournament here on Speed Gaming. We have a co-cast tonight between Speed Gaming and a Link to the Past Randomizer channel, the ALTTP Randomizer channel. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Cyclone. I'm joined by Mindamy. How are you doing today, Mindamy?
I'm doing fantastic. I am super excited for some more Qualifier Randomizer action.
Indeed, and we have a great series of runners here. In fact, we have 95 runners running in this tournament tonight, in this particular qualifier. This is a series of qualifiers that runners are going to try to place as best as they can in that group of qualifiers. I think they have to have a minimum of 5, if I remember correctly. The worst and best times get dropped, and then they get ranked, they get put in groups, and we proceed from there. So we have a lot of people vying to get into the groups of this tournament.
And it is not too late. Total of 16 qualifiers. This is number 4. And as Cyclone said, you'd only need to be able to do 5. I think you can get away with 4, but then you have to know that, you know, your best one's going to get dropped. So there's still time to join in. Go and check out the Discord, join in. But we do have 4 runners on stream tonight. We have NY Rambler, Zyrak, Killer App 23, and Big Dunka.
And we also have on a separate stream, we have 2 other runners. And the runners on that stream tonight are going to be Fear Agent and Walther IV. They're going to be running on ALTTP Randomizer. So feel free to bring that up and watch that along with us. Crowzone and Jexref are on comms over on that channel. Feel free to follow whoever you wish to follow in terms of commentary, but we will only talk about what we see on our stream. We're not going to be watching that race ourselves here, but we feel free to bring up both and watch both at the same time. So with that said, what do you want to see tonight, Mindamy?
Well, given the settings in this randomizer, it is a open mode with a standard 7 crystals to enter Ganon's tower, 7 crystals to defeat Ganon without the fast Ganon settings. You know what? I'm a big fan of lots of divergence. So if, you know, runners maybe find a glove early or a glove in a book early, that you get some people sequence breaking up Death Mountain while the others are dipping desert, that'd be super great.
It looks like we are underway. Let's see what we have in Link's house. It's a big 20, and we're going to get a sanctuary check from Zyrak. That is the map in the sanctuary. So a little bit of money for Zora. Otherwise, not much of use so far. Did you catch that map check, Mindamy?
I sure did. It looked like we had a red pendant at Easter, a red crystal at Hera, and a regular crystal at Desert.
So 2 crystals in the light world, and I am seeing that now as well. So 2 crystals in the light world, that means we're going to have a good mix between the 2 worlds here today. Not all pendants in the dark world, for example. We're going to have a good mix between the worlds as to where we need to go. It's going to be interesting to see how this gets routed with the red crystal in the light world as well. We have on the Uncle 10 arrows.
Oh, and there's my wish. There is a glove in the Uncle chest.
You were saying that before we started. Can I call Witch already?
I don't mind that.
So we are going to get our look at the Lost Woods here. Lost Woods has a couple items in it here. We're going to find one sitting over here where the mushroom is normally sitting. We're coming to that on Zyrak's screen right now. It's a bag of powder. So the mushroom has already been converted.
Fetch quest into a fetch quest. And then we're going to get our look at the other item down in the Thieves' hideout.
Imagine if it's the mushroom down here now. That'd be funny. We're getting a sync up, so we're going to have a delay on seeing what that is down there on Zyrak's side. But when you see synced up, we will see that. There it is, money.
That's always nice to see going into the village. Zyrak hasn't had any luck with bomb drops, and neither of the rest of our runners. So having a little bit of cash, being able to buy some bombs and buy the potion vendor item, that's fantastic.
And everyone else is getting their items out of the Lost Woods right now. Big Ducky just heading up there right now. Zyrak's going to be on his way down to the town. I think we got a lumberjack check. We're being told by chat that it was a red rupee on the lumberjack, so that's not going to be important. Therefore, Agahnim so far not necessarily required.
Absolutely. Still lots of possibilities if you like to see that tower climb. We are quite a ways away from Dark World access, but here we're getting a bevy of checks into Kakariko.
The first place we're going to reach is Blind's hideout, or Blind's hut, I guess the better way to put it. His hideout's in the Dark World. So Blind's hut, but Zyrak is not going there yet, so he's taking a different route. He's going to the tavern first.
And it looks like Killer App is going to take that money, buy some bombs at the Hylia shop, while checking the item on the island, which is the Uncle Bombs, the 10 bomb back.
And Zyrak is going to buy some bombs at the Kakariko shop, it looks like. So 2 runners buying bombs today. That seems to be the reason why Zyrak took that southern route, because he wanted to make sure he didn't gamble on finding bombs in one of those 2 checks.
It makes sense. You hate to have to retrace your steps through Kakariko, but it can't be avoided. But those 50-50 bomb bushes that Big Dunka's farming gives him just enough.
I want to point out what Killer App is doing right now. He's going over to Eastern already. He's apparently a fan of the early Eastern play. We're going to see what's in Sahasral's closet. Zyrak did a nice chicken clip there, by the way, as he got a piece of heart. And Bottle Vendor, what was out in the Bottle Vendor?
That was our other gloves.
I thought it was. Okay.
We have access to Titan's mitts and are only a moon pearl away from our Dark World access.
Sahasral didn't have much of anything in his closet. We found blue mail in the well. What else is down here in the well? Let's find out right now as we get to the back. Oh, look. You just bought some bombs. Now have some bombs. And 20 rupees. Piece of heart. And more bombs.
And Killer App is go and give us a look at the back of Escape with those gloves. And we get the hammer there on the race game.
Oh, that's a nice find. We already have Dark World access, except we need a Moon Pearl before we can actually do anything there, but we can otherwise get there.
Nothing in the back of Escape. Let's check out Blind's hideout now.
Oh, some red goo.
And the blue boomerang. So the red goo gives us 1 extra check at Sick Kid. It only looked like there was a big 20 on the library.
Now, getting the boomerang early like this, I would actually suggest you trying to stun an enemy and seeing what the stun prize is when you kill it. That way you can find out if there's something like big 20 coming off of a stunned enemy. That would allow you to farm some money for things like Zora, for example, as you're doing other checks. So that might be something the runners can make use of if they choose to.
I would say that Big Dunka may do that since he's the only one with a weapon currently. Otherwise, you got to get lucky with those bombs.
Sick Kid, by the way, now that we have a bottle, is furnishing 20 rupees for us. So we already have a few good checks. The hammer, the Titan's mitt. So we have some good items to use here, but we are still looking, like you said, for good weapons. The hammer so far is the only thing we found for Big Dunka.
And pointed out in chat that with Big Dunka having the powder and the hammer, Magic Bat is another check that's in logic.
You don't normally think of that at the 5-minute point, but yes, it is.
Killer App came up with nothing much in the dam and the flooded island, is going to give us a mini Moldorm check.
Zyrak did a check of the race game before playing it. Now, this is where one of those runner's preference things comes in. You might have a preference to play the race game right away or to go check the item. Both ways can save time depending on what the item is. If it's something that you don't need, you don't waste time playing the game, you save time over someone who did. But if it's an item that you need, you're actually going to lose more time checking the item and going back to play the game in order to get the item on your second view of it. So it really depends on your preference. However, because I think you lose more time, I personally would say just play the game to start with. But it comes again down to runner preference.
Killer App got their 5 items out of mini Moldorm game. Only the Fisher Price Shield is of any note and is making their way up to Ice Rod Cave.
You gotta have something on the South Shore here. You can't just have a lot of boring items down here.
We're actually running quite a bit short on items. We have Zora left, which is much. Oh no, those crabs! 2 hearts of damage. They get you every time.
Will he go back there, or will he put it off now that he's it would be a really long walk to get back there? He may have to orphan that location, go somewhere else for now. He is heading over to Kakariko, it looks like.
Oh, that is unfortunate, especially if that is where the Moon Pearl is at.
Well, the thing that he would be hoping for is that the flute shows up somewhere very soon. If it does, then he's okay. He can flute over there and not waste too much time. But otherwise, without the flute, that's an orphan location at this point. He won't go back there until he's doing something like fake flippers to Hobo, for example. Or if he has the flippers normally, just do it normally and then hop on the water when he's done over there. So that could be orphan for a while, depending on what other items we find.
Indeed. Big Dunka gonna go and look at escape. Not gonna find anything of value back there. But as I was saying, that Zora is in logic with that glove. We also have Agahnim, and at least one item will be accessible in Eastern, or possibly all three, depending on the layout.
Now we know that Death Mountain is not in logic yet because we don't have the lamp or the flute that I was just talking about, which is why I was saying having the flute would be really nice right now. But even we could go to Death Mountain and rescue the old man if you are okay working in the dark. That is accessible that way. You can also get an item from the Spectral Rock Cave inside. There are two items there, but those would be considered a sequence break. They would not be logical progression. So that would not be where you would go looking for a Moon Pearl, for example.
There are three other chests in logic, which would be the front of escape, and sometimes it just kind of slips my mind because I'm so used to playing standard mode.
Yeah, if you play standard mode, you see those right away anyway.
So Killer App is going to be the first one checking Magic Bat, even though Big Dunka was in. Oh, he didn't have magic because he never did the Uncle check. So Killer App going in there, has magic, has the hammer, has the powder, and we will get that Magic Bat check.
So at 9 minutes into this race, we are already getting our runner curse of the day. Of course, curse means blessing, because that's how Magic Bat works. So Magic Bat today will curse you by taking every ability for you to defend yourself.
That's a super nice thing to find. We've got
Yes.
a sword now. We can defend ourselves. The crowds are no longer an issue, and luckily for Killer App, Ice Rod Cave only gave us a piece of heart.
That is very fortunate.
The other nice thing, of course, that a sword does, as you mentioned, the sequence breaks through the dark maze to the mountain. Sword makes that a little bit easier. Since we also have the small key from the back of escape, it's possible that they might sequence break over to Dark Cross.
Now, I wonder if any runner is going to go into Eastern Palace. We can't complete it yet, but there are several potential items over there that could be picked up. So that could, again, be where our progression lies. I know that we saw runners go into Sahasrara's Plaza. Killer App for sure did that, I remember. But I don't think he went into Eastern Palace proper.
No, he didn't. As soon as he did Sahasrara, he noped right out. So if Eastern Palace is our progression, if it's a lamp for Death Mountain or for the Dark Cross, that's kind of orphan for him. He's more likely to check Zora and Agahnim than go back there.
Look at Zyrak. He's doing the Death Mountain climb, it looks like. He is in the dark right now.
No, he is in Dark Cross right now.
Oh, that's Dark Cross. My mistake. I didn't see which room you entered. Thank you.
The dungeon music's a bit of a giveaway, but that's all right.
Yeah, the music would be a giveaway. But either way, regardless of where it is, the point is that whatever item is here is considered a sequence break. So if it were to be an important item, technically he's not supposed to have it yet.
Gotta be careful. The ropes are taking him out and is already using his red goo.
That's the danger of doing rooms in the dark. You can get assailed by things you can't see.
Both Big Dunka and Rambler are doing their Eastern Palace checks, and the Dark Cross was only a pack of blueberries.
So not part of the logic anyway. That's good news. Some discussion in chat about Killer App's sprite. He is playing as, and it's not supposed to be brand specific, but he's playing as a can of Pepsi right now. Once you get the blue mail, you get upgraded from 7-Up, which is the basic sprite, to Pepsi, and you get upgraded somehow. And I don't know how it happens, but from Pepsi to Coke.
There are some people who would disagree if that's an upgrade or not, but looks like Zyrek is going to go and get his Titan's mitts from the Uncle chest, and we'll probably take a look at Escape, while Rambler is the first of our runners to enter Eastern Palace.
And we think that the progression most likely has to be either here or on Agahnim at this point, because there's not a lot left that the runners can check. So we are going to be very interested in why Rambler finds here in Eastern Palace at this point. Chat already calling for a vanilla bow. There's nothing trollier than a vanilla item. There's the lamp.
All right, so we could potentially, that puts those blueberries in Dark Cross and Logic, gives those mountain checks in Logic, the Old Man and Spectacle Rock, and we can potentially have now 5 of the 6 items out of Eastern. There's only 3 prizes, 3 dungeon items, 5 checks to make.
Now, there's something else we have to consider here as well. If we find a cape or a sword, another sword, Agahnim could be in play as well. And this is something that Chad, I know, likes to see. They like to see the runners forced to make the Agahnim climb and deal, with 15 blue balls for the maximum pain, or in Chad's case, maximum pleasure.
And there is that second sword in the escape. So now
I had to say it. Call for it, it happens. This might get interesting, boys and girls.
Yeah, so now we have 2 runners with 2 different swords. Now, what could be on Aghanim's ledge? It could be easy, like something like the Moon Pearl, or it could be something really annoying that leads to the Moon Pearl, something like a book or a shovel or anything like that.
Zyrak already finding the red mail in Escape. Obviously, he had the blue mail already. The mails are progressive, so if that were the first mail upgrade he picked up, it would be the blue mail, and then the red mail would be over in Kakariko. But the order he picked them up, or wherever it was, they found it anyway. So, but he did find both mails. He does have the red mail. He does now have 1/4 of the damage that takes 1/4 of the damage that he took originally. So he has a lot of extra power to get through there and muscle his way through whatever he's doing.
But value in Eastern Palace. Dunka and Rambler both finding the Mire in there. That gives us access now to Tower and Hera and all of East Death Mountain.
That Mire is an excellent item to have. That means Tower of Hera, as you said, is open. There are only 2 items in Tower of Hera, so the chance of progression there is minimal. But we know we have to complete for a crystal. I think the runners will go there as soon as they feel it appropriate.
And our last item in Eastern Palace is on Armos for that pendant. Unlikely that anybody's going to go back for that. And the Agina item is just a bottle of blue goo.
If the runners were to go back for that item on Armos Nights, it might be one of those cases where they would do it while they're doing Palace of Darkness. But like you said, I don't think anyone's going to want to go back for that. They're going to hope that item is not important and not, something like the flute. Or actually the flute maybe not, but let's say the flippers.
We will likely find out in a few minutes as soon as Rambler climbs the mountain, rescues the old man, and takes the portal into the Dark World and get our first Dark World map check.
Zyrak is now wandering around the Eastern Palace area. He has to go in still to find his glorious items from there.
It's somewhat fortunate that none of the runners are likely to get both swords and the lamp all at once. All the runners are going to get items that are going to push them to Death Mountain rather than pushing them to Aga Tower.
And that is good because you want to find progression everywhere you can before you're forced to go to Aghanim's Tower. Some runners will occasionally make that play, that gamble in a race race setting where it's a one-on-one or maybe even just a few people racing, where they try to get a play on everyone else in the race. But in a 95 runner seed like this one, or a 95 runner competition like this one, you're better off just making the safe play and hoping that everyone else follows along. That is Ether on Spectacle Rock, by the way.
The old man himself gave us 300 rupees, and there is a heart piece inside. The settings for these seeds are, of course, no hints, so you won't see anybody taking the dive into Spectacle Rock to check that tile.
That means that piece of heart will not get a visit today. And there's our Dark World map check. Red Crystal at Skull Woods. I see a pendant at Misery Mire, another pendant at Ice Palace. Boy, those are 2 dungeons we're happy not to have to visit, hopefully.
Oh, but green pendant Ice Palace. So Misery Mire being a pendant means that flute will not be required.
It also means that Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It also means that the flippers may not be required either, unless no, Swamp Palace still needs the flippers. So flippers will still be required, but at least we don't have to worry about finding them to get into Ice Palace at some point in the event that we can't complete Swamp yet.
Flute may be required if if the book is in Ganon's tower, or if it's our access to desert is blocked in some way.
Absolutely.
But 2 early keys in Hera. Don't need to make a trip into the basement yet.
So that's a good start. We have the small key to get into the back basement if we need to. Let's hope that we don't need to.
Exactly. Ideally, the 2 items are here on the way up to Moldorm. Moldorm drops one of the dungeon items, and the other one is locked down in the basement.
Killer App going over to the last item in Eastern Palace that he can get right now, which is that big key chest, the vanilla big key chest. Zyrak is also heading in that direction right now. They're pretty much almost in sync with each other at this point.
Ooh, we have the map in the compass chest in Tower of Hera.
I think that basement might be getting a visit today, unless we find the item in the big chest and the other one on Moldorm.
We do not want to see a compass in this big chest.
Well, we found a compass in the big chest, so yeah, we're gonna get our coffee break today, ladies and gentlemen.
Now the question is, would any of these runners consider skipping the basement item, checking the rest of Death Mountain first? Because the thing is, if you go check over the rest on Paradox Cave has your Moon Pearl, then you have all of Dark Death Mountain to check as well.
There's too many items left. I wouldn't orphan the one item yet. I would get the item out of here and then not have to think about it later. Because if you end up checking the rest of Death Mountain first, you don't find it. It's like a walk of shame having to come back to the tower and go back in just to do it anyway. I just say get it out of the way.
Rambler's first attempt on Moldorm got bullied off the side. Hammer Moldorm is a little trickier when you don't have the sword to buffer you, but Big Duncan makes it easy.
That was
a vanilla heart.
Yep, full heart container. Nothing different there. That's vanilla, as you said. Now, will Big Duncan go in and do the coffee break room right now, or will he, as you suggested, continue exploring Death Mountain? We're going to find out in about 2 seconds here. Yep, he's going back in.
It's one of those things when, you just got to do what feels right. I can imagine that in this 95-person race, we've had pretty linear progression so far, unless our Moon Pearl is on Zora for some reason, which is the only thing down in the rest of the world that's in logic.
That'd be disgusting.
Zyrak got his sword in Escape, and Killer App got his sword on the Magic Bat. So we do have 2 swords in Logic.
Yes, that does mean that Agahnim, with the lamp also in play, is also in Logic. So there is the possibility that the progression could dry up completely and the runners are forced to enter that tower. We're going to hope that that's not the case, obviously, for the runners' sake. But it could happen.
Yep. We still do have 8 checks over on East Death Mountain in Spiral Cave and Paradox Cave, as well as whatever this item is here in the basement that Big Dunk is about to show us.
Yep, and my Rambler is right behind that.
And question from chat, yes, Lumberjack was checked. It is only a big 20, similar to what we just saw down in Hera Basement.
Yep, exactly the same. So that's what's on the Lumberjack, for those who might have missed that earlier. So Killer App and Zyrak are climbing the tower right now, and they're going to find their heart container when they get to Moldorm. Nothing else of use climbing the tower. We have Big Duncan heading to the right. I suspect NY Rammer will follow in that direction when he leaves. Hammer does get you by those pegs. So where is he going to go first? He's going to head over. Wow.
Took a quick look at Floating Island, which was a heart container, and going down to Spiral Cave.
Yep, he was checking the island, and now doing... This is what I like to call the walk of shame, because people tend to want to have the boots when they do this cave. Of course, if they're not available, you have to do the long, slow, tiring walk.
And without a sword, you gotta kind of hope that the jellyfishes get out of your way.
I think you can stun them, can't you?
They still have a hook shot. I'm not sure about with a boomerang.
I think Oh yeah, the hook shot I know would. I'm just trying to think of the boomerang would. I'm not sure about the boomerang. I know the hook shot does though.
But it was only 10 arrows at the end of that long walk, but we're going to get our wealth of items in Paradox Cave. They may not be good items, but there will certainly be a lot of them.
Well, it is 7 items, so there is a very good chance there will be something useful here, like a cape. I'm joking, by the way. The odds that the Moon Pearl are here right now, though, would be very, very high, I would say, unless Agahnim is required for progression.
But just a double piece of heart in the 2 chests, going up to the 5 chests.
Go ahead.
In a 95-person race, it's entirely possible that somebody is going to save some time and gamble on Hera basement.
We have a nice Paradox Cave here. Cane of Samaria and boots so far. Now, can we get a pearl to finish it off? No, we can't. Cane of Samaria, it is progression, but not yet. We're not at a point where the cane is actually any kind of progression yet. It's mostly used in, there's one room in Ice Palace, and then Misery Mire, of course, to complete it, and to get through Turtle Rock. But right now, it doesn't do anything for us. The boots will allow us to go fast, but that's all they do, as well as unlock one item in Desert Palace right now, one which is on the torch, which could unlock more if it's a key.
Actually unlocks 2 items, because we've got here King's Tomb, and then we will also get Bog Rock.
Correct with King's Tomb. That was, which he was checking right now, as to demonstrate that I was completely wrong.
There's a lot going on, but all 4 of our on-screen runners are making the gamble with Hera, because you never know. You know, it could be at Big 20, or it could be that Ice Rod for Turtle Rock.
He's going to check the Bonk Rocks. This is a good check. So the boots do open up these kinds of checks. They're a little out of the way, but they could be what we need. And it is. It's the Moon Pearl at Bonk Rocks today.
All right, there we go. Aga is successfully avoided, and we have pretty full Dark World access. It feels really good to be able to go to the Dark World at 24 minutes. You got Hammer, you got Titans, you got Mire. The only thing that could make it better would be the flute.
And there we are. We are now in the Dark World on Big Dunca's side. He's going to go most likely explore Village of Outcasts at this point. He is heading south. You could go in one of 2 directions, either where Big Dunca is going or head up to Skull Woods and check what items are in there first. He's taking the Village of Outcasts route first. And Treasure Game provides, looks like a heart container out there today.
Yep. Hopefully Big Dunca goes and checks Magic Bat before he goes into Thieves Town to pick up a sword. You can certainly kill off Blind with the Cane of Samaria, but it would be so much nicer if he picked up that sword from there.
And the first item in Thieves Town, speaking of that, Piece of Heart, there are 4 items in the front of Thieves Town. Now, without Big Dunca is a very skilled runner. I suspect he will try to complete Thieves Town fully, especially because it is a crystal. But sometimes, depending on whether it's a pendant dungeon or a crystal dungeon, you may see some runners opt to just do the first 4 chests and then leave, come back later if they find they need to come back later. Or if they find that there are items they need to get out of here, there's too many items left behind.
I mean, Blind is a logical weapon or Cane of Samaria is a logical weapon to be able to kill Blind, and there is theoretically probably enough magic drops for him to be able to do Samaria straps. But he'll have to be careful with the anti-fairies in the Hellway that they don't take out too much of his magic.
Yeah, the anti-fairies can just find you at the worst point to take that magic away from you, especially and when you have a weapon like the Cane of Samaria, just like you said, magic is necessary to wield it. So we have Zyrak and Killer App both in Paradox Cave right now. They're going to get their boots and Cane of Samaria combination here. And while Rambler is following behind into the Dark World into Village of Outcasts.
So neither of them are going into the dip into Skull Woods, even though it's not completable at this time, especially for those 2 since they have no sword and no fire rod. It can be somewhat worrisome to leave it behind because could have, like the fire rod in it, vanilla.
Yeah, fire rod could be in there, as you said. So that can be one of those things that you're not going to complete while you're there, and very often you have to check it without the fire rod and go back later anyway. But I can't blame runners wanting to go back and go and check that in one go. That's a dungeon you're happy to be able to do in one go.
And Zyrak is doing a Super Bunny glitch into the, so named Super Bunny Cave. Falling through this hole gives you what is known as a Super Bunny state that allows you to do certain things that Link can, but as a bunny, such as open chests and pick up pots.
So what we have there, it's not going to be progression that we need right now, but it is a shield and 20 rupee. We have a digging game going on for NY Rambler right now. This is, again, new ground. 5 diggings get you a heart container, it looks like.
Big Dunka only found the map in the attic of Thieves Town. Is going to go on and check the maiden's chest. We have not found the small key here. If the small key is in this chest, he will be able to open up the big cat chest.
Ooh. That is not a small key. That is 300 rupees, it looks like. So now I believe the small key in this flakes is able to lock itself, or would the small key be on blind at this point?
No, the small key would lock itself. The logic will never permit the small key to be on blind, because that would mean that you could theoretically lock yourself out of Thieves Town if you misuse a key.
Gotcha. So we know at this point that blind has the last item then, and that small key will not be found. By the way, do you know that Mire requires Bombos, Quake, or Ether?
You know what? I didn't, but Blind just gave me the hint that, so thanks, Blind.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Blind. I thought hit mode was turned off. And as you said, Big Donkey is using that cane as Samaria. Very nice fight by Big Donkey there. As I said, one of our very skilled runners in this community. One of our top level runners definitely in this community. I've seen him finish high in a number of tournaments. So not surprising to see him be able to pull that off.
And he gets his second crystal at 29 minutes. Meanwhile, Rambo found his first sword in hammer pegs and is about to get a second sword from the bat. And yeah, the dwarves made him pay 10 rupees for 5.
Is that what we call a bad business deal?
I mean, there's worse in Hyrule.
Yeah, 500, 300 for, or yeah, 500 for 20.
100 for a penny. And Zyrak is taking a different route and is starting from the aforementioned Hype Cave.
What will the level of hype be in today's Hype Cave? Get your guesses in chat what we'll find here, ladies and gentlemen.
As Zyrak a lot of important items.
So we're going to talk to the thief as the bomb explodes, doesn't take damage as a result. There's the bug catching net. We also have a piece of heart, looks like 50 rupees, a big 20, and a piece of heart. Mind of me, rate this Hype Cave.
That's a solid 2.
I'm going to assume that's for the net for catching fairies.
Exactly. Rambler leaving that piece of heart in the cave south of Grove. And we're going to get almost simultaneous checks of Stumpy.
Indeed, and we already have... Was that an ice rod or a fire rod? I think it was an ice rod.
That looked like an ice rod to me.
Yep, I just saw it on the menu. It was the ice rod.
All right, so we have our more easily misplaced rod found. So that's a nice feeling for the runners.
I find it unfortunate that the runners felt they had to take Stumpy's drink from him.
And we are going to get a purple chest check by NY Rambler.
Well, we know Gary's not very rich today.
And if anybody needs to go get Zora, there is only a 50% chance that it's reduced by 50% that we're going to get that 1% return on investment.
The deal will not be as bad as it could be, in other words.
Exactly.
We're going to get our froggy check from Zyrak now. We have seen what the Lumberjack has already. No World Tour, just going to take him straight home today.
Killer App with the sword and the blind fight will be able to have a much more traditional fight. Blind is on a strict as long as you move the same way, so will blind. You can avoid all those fireballs.
And while we're making a play to the bomb shop in the Dark World to pick up some bombs, no super bomb there yet. You need 2 red crystals to get that, of course. So Pyramid Fairy is not in logic yet. He is going to clean out Hype Cave. There is another sword for Zyrak right now. That is the sword that was under the hammer pegs.
And Zyrak will be the first of our runners to get Tempered Sword. Tempered Sword is considered the ideal sword for this mode. You can go all the way to Ganon with it and saves considerable amount of time. Not likely that he would go out of his way for a sword if there was one available, say, on Desert Ledge.
So after Zyrak does get into Magic Pad, as you said, he will be cursed with a better sword. And personally, I would take that curse.
And NY Rambler showing us what is on the Pyramid Ledge if anybody took the Agabate.
Is that a heart container? It was.
Not making his way up to Catfish.
I'm actually surprised by that. Catfish is a location that can be easily orphaned. But I have a feeling what he might be thinking is to do the check of Graveyard Ledge and use that as his route to get over to Catfish. But it'll be a little hard to cross the river right now. So, as you said, I'm surprised he's not doing that yet.
Yeah, it could be that he's planning on doing a little bit of a nice so-called kern jump to do a fake flipper over there and combine that with Graveyard Ledge.
Yep, I am familiar with that jump, and I was thinking the same thing. So maybe he is planning to do that.
And with the mirror, then he could mirror right over and take care of Zora. But he is a little bit short, so he's going to go and give us our first look inside of Skull Woods.
That's actually a good
items
call.
To find there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's actually a good call. Not being short of money, he might be planning to do them at the same time. So I did miss that. Very good call on that. And NY Rambler not going to open the chest in this room yet. The reason is because opening that chest makes some holes in the floor that he has to then walk around. So it's quicker to come get this map first, and then he will go and open the other chest and continue to the right. And that chest contains the compass. So we found the dungeon items already. That's good news.
There are, I believe, 3 keys and chests in Skull Woods.
There's one of them.
That chest is no longer guaranteed to have a small key in version 31, but in this seed it did.
Yeah, I have seen important items like the hook shot in that chest, so it is indeed randomized now, like everything else. The reason is because it was considered a soft lock location. If you were not to find a key there, you can't continue. If you drop in, you have to save and quit. So kind of not really a soft lock, but kind of like a mini soft lock because it's not convenient to have to save and quit to go back there. So runner running has now changed to consider other items before going in there, and that's the more optimal way to do this possibly in some cases now.
This is a last in logic check for Skull Woods. Easy to do with that Cane of Smaria.
Big key.
So time to mirror out, go back to the chest, and check the absolute last location in the front of Skull Woods that is available without the fire rod.
A quick note on that big key for those not familiar with the game as well, might be seeing this for the first time. That big key is actually not required to get to Mothula. It does open the big chest, but you can get to Mothula just by dropping in the hole. There's no big door blocking the way. You just have to have a sword to get down some vines, and that's pretty much it.
It is one of 2 keys that are logically not required for the boss and can lock themselves in. Oh my god!
Indeed.
Did you see what was in that big chest?
I did.
That was, in fact, a vanilla fire rod. And yeah. I'm not sure why he's not finishing off Skull Woods.
I am equally confused. I wonder why he is leaving.
It's a crystal. It's, in fact, one of our 5-6 crystals.
Yeah, that would open. That would be one of those crystals that opens up Pyramid Fairy. The other one being, I think it was Desert Palace that had the other one, because the
Yes.
regular one was the Tower of Hera. Killer App. Go ahead.
It's possible that he's looking for another sword here in Thieves Town. I mean, Master Sword Mothula is not fun, but it's certainly doable. So I am a little bit confused why he's choosing to do this, because again, after doing Skullwoods, it would be very easy to mirror, take the portal again, and go right back to Village of Outcasts for Thieves Town.
Well, it's worth knowing he does have 10 heart containers as well. So yeah, like you said, I think he would be able to, being at his skill level, I think he could manage that fight. So like you said, it does surprise me. But maybe he just feels more confident doing Thieves Town first, then going back if he feels he needs to complete it.
The nice thing about doing Thieves Town as an option is that Blind will then refill his hearts and magic to full. Might wanted that little extra 1/8 of a magic bar so that when he goes into Skullwoods, he can have more full to take care of the Gibdos and the torches.
Very well possible. Killer App is in the pyramid area right now. Gonna bonk off a fake rock or fake skull rock thing there. And while Rambler is continuing into Thieves Town, Zyrak is finishing Thieves Town, getting his magnetic circle. Big Dunka, meanwhile, is looking around the dark cross area. He's getting his bombs out of there.
Yep, he picked up his tempered sword earlier, and Killer App is going to be on his way, but going to Dark Cross first.
So while the runners are mostly covering ground that the other runners have already seen, just to remind you, make sure you follow these runners. For those of you who are watching on YouTube as well, thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel as well. The names you see on the screen are the names on their Twitch channels, except for Zyrak, who also has an underscore after his name on his Twitch channel. Go to twitch.tv, followed by any of the names on the screen. You can go to their Twitch channels and hang out with them and see what else they do besides just racing in Zelda tournaments. I'm sure they appreciate the company as well. Make sure you also, while those watching live, make sure you also check our co-stream for this race, Fear Agent and Walther IV on ALTTP Randomizer right now as we are airing this.
All right, and we are about to get that catfish check from Big Dunka. Hopefully this is the flippers that he would be able to mirror, check Pyramid Fairy, Zora Ledge, and King Zora himself. But today, Catfish simply has for us 10 arrow.
And now we're going to get the mirror over to Zora's domain. We cannot check Waterfall K because we don't have the flippers. You can, of course, fake flipper in if you come from a different way. But coming from Catfish, you cannot fake flipper in.
Only 5 rupees on Zora Ledge. Not going to have to come back with flippers for that.
So I believe this is our first check of King Zora. So what will the big fish scam of the day be? Get your guesses in chat, everyone. As the fish comes up from the depths, croaks at you, and happily hands over a bottle.
Bottle's okay. You know, I'm not going to complain about a bottle.
Could be worse.
I'm sure that Big Dunka would have preferred something like the bow or vanilla flippers, or, you know, he's still looking for that fire rod and a way into Desert Palace.
Yeah, there are a lot of things I'm sure he would have preferred to be there. You mentioned the good ones right there, actually. Flippers was actually being called in chat, too. Vanilla flippers was being suggested. That would be a good item to get there as well. Zyrak getting his fire rod, literally vanilla fire rod.
And Big Dunka is going to give us our in-logic check of Death Mountain, skipping Spiral Cave for now because he does not have an invincibility item. We have not found the cape or the Cane of Burna.
Now it's worth pointing out that Big Dunka still cannot check the Ether Tablet as well. There's no Book of Medora, so that could end up being one of those locations that gets orphaned. And if there's something important there, that could be a while before some of our runners get back to that location.
Okay, Rambler finished off Thieves Town, is going over to check Graveyard Ledge. We'll see if he goes back, checks the Bumper Ledge item, and then goes back into Skullwoods.
Big Donkey is going to check the Turtle Rock location right now, see what the medallion is there. Warping over to the Dark World, we find Ether, and guess what? You can open it up, and you can even go inside if you want to.
Oh, this is unfortunate that he does not have that fire rod from Skull Woods, because he could full clear Turtle Rock right now. And Turtle Rock is such a dungeon that it doesn't really matter if you're in go mode or not. You might be able to skip one chest.
There's the potential to be able to skip a couple chests on Laser Bridge depending on where everything falls, actually. Yeah, the likelihood is not there.
Rap gets his 500 ruby antique bottle. Zyrak on the Mothula fight. Really easy with Tempered Sword.
It looks like we had, I think that was the 10 pack of bombs on the Bumper Cave location today. That's the one that if you're playing in standard mode, you can get that as a weapon from the uncle. We're not going to need that today.
But more importantly, Zyrak gets the flute off of Mothula. That's the second item in Skull Woods, and that gives us our desert access and logical access to the Pyramid Fairy.
There's our cane at Burna. So, Brian, your cave is in Hookshot. Your cane is in Hookshot Cave. Please pick it up.
So that cane of Burna now gives us access to Laser Bridge as well as Spike Cave. So things are all just coming together here.
So Big Donkey is going into Turtle Rock. Like you said, he will not be able to fully complete it because he does not have that vanilla fire rod from Skull Woods. If he's gonna have to make a trip back later in order to complete that dungeon. It is a crystal he will require.
If this is not a small key, he will be stuck, but it is, and he can go deeper in. There is a key layout in Turtle Rock that will allow you to go all the way to Laser Bridge without the fire rod. Killer App also on Death Mountain, opening up Turtle Rock.
And what you were just describing is one of the absolute worst scenarios because you go all the way to Laser Bridge, you find what you need is not here, and you almost feel like you were baited to go all the way in just to have to come back and do it all later again. There's our bow in Turtle Rock. Big Duncan's going to feel good about that choice right now.
That is so nice to find. It doesn't go deep into Turtle Rock, has a bow now. Before dipping pod, so that's going to feel super good. And Rambler is back in Skull Woods.
Now, the question is, will the logic pretty much require him to finish Turtle Rock before doing other things here? Is there something else in Turtle Rock that he may need to pick up? Of course, he's stuck out for now. He's locked out for now. He'll have to come back later anyway. But we will see what kind of progression Big Duncan can make with that bow. Palace of Darkness, of course, is now available. So is the last item in Eastern Palace on the Armless Knights if you feel so inclined.
We are still looking for flippers. We're still looking for the hook shot.
Zyrak is over in the, I was going to say the realm where the catfish is, but now he's heading to the west. He's going to head over to Village of Outcasts now, it looks like.
Probably going to mirror and activate his flute.
I believe you're correct.
And Rambler getting his flute from the moth.
Oh, he's not mirroring to check the flute yet. He is going over to the purple chest, it looks like, and I think he might take that and hold on to that while he's activating the flute.
Makes sense. Mirror, activate flute, and use that flute right away to turn in purple chest. And Big Dunka with that bow is making a beeline to pod.
So we're gonna get to hear
with 5 items in it.
So we're gonna get to hear some music from Zyrak right now, and I'd like to let it play. And with that beautiful music, Zyrak now has a beautiful duck coming out of the Scarecrow, and he can now fly around wherever he wants to in the Light World.
Well, up to 8 predetermined points.
Like I said, wherever he wants.
The third sword was in Hammer Pegs. The other ones were on Magic Back and in the Escape.
And Zyrak gets his single rupee, and that's the reason he activated the duck right there. They activated the flute, I should say, because it got him to get over to Gary very, very quickly compared to the long walk he otherwise would have had. He's going to check the Misery Mire, see what the medallion required there is. Will this be another ether? Let's find out right now. I didn't catch it, did you?
I was not able to see it. We'll see if we can see that on Rambler's side while Zyrak checks out the Mire shed.
They're checking very quickly. I'm not catching it. Someone is suggesting it's Quake in the chat. Someone with better eyes than either of us, I think.
Obviously. Alright. With fire source and boots and gloves, there is nothing stopping our runners from completing desert.
Yeah, now they can actually backdoor their way into Desert Palace. I would take care of this while we're here. That's exactly what Zyrak is doing.
Oh, now Killer App, without dipping Turtle Rock and getting that bow, is going to dip into Pod.
Oh, it's not relevant now, but we found the cape over in Checkerboard Cave. That's an interesting item to find over there. It does provide a second item that you can use for invincibility by becoming completely invisible and not being able to be seen by a single thing.
If somehow you sequence broke the seed and managed to get into desert without the Moon Pearl, which shame on you, this is not a Major Glitches run, the desert would have been boots locked.
So what do we have on the right side? Just a map so far. And the other item... Well, the dungeon item's on the right side. We could have ignored that today.
The bow was in Chomps. The Chomps room in Turtle Rock.
Chompy guard the bow. There's our shovel. I could dig that.
Shovel, one more item check, but unfortunately a fetch quest, a little bit out of the way. Our convenient flute does not conveniently flute back to its vanilla location.
So we're getting our look at Palace of Darkness from Killer App right now. I think he's our first runner to actually make the trek in there. He does have hammer and bow. It is completable. He must have found another bow somewhere that we missed.
Or did he dip into Turtle Rock?
I was watching on the right side. I didn't see if he did. We found a bombos according to chat as well.
Yep, Big Dunka, who is also in Pod, found that in the dark basement. Map in Harmless Hellway.
Oh, Killer App did go into Turtle Rock, and I'm just blind. That works.
Thank you, chat, for having eyes where we do not. We appreciate all 399 of you.
Yes, and more.
Big Dunka in the dark maze. One more item to check in the big chest.
Here's our first...
Zyrak. Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, here's our first Lamolus fight. Zyrak going to take on the lovely snakes right. That's our gold sword.
All right. All of our... Likely everyone will end up with a gold sword this run, except for Rambler, who has not gone into escape yet. He's had enough progression along the way to not dip in there.
And the odds are at this point he probably will not go there unless he feels he's forgetting something.
So that is both 5-6 crystals for Zyrak. In the vanilla game, they're called 5-6 because they're for dungeons 5 and 6, which would be Ice Palace and Mire. You take those to get the big bomb at Pyramid Fairy, and in vanilla gives you the aforementioned butter sword and silver arrows.
Of course, it looks a little different in the vanilla game, but we won't worry about that. And there's that bombos for Killer App as well, so he's our second runner to pick that up. Now, bombos, while it is not necessary to open a dungeon today, and it will not be necessary for this purpose, but it could be useful in one spot in some seeds where Ice Palace, you may have to use bombos as your way to get through certain rooms that would otherwise require the fire rod. Both are legitimate ways to get through some of those rooms and also for fighting cold stare. However, the fire rod is more convenient for that purpose, and thus Bombos will probably not see that much use, if any, today.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bombos is a bit slow, and even though it can be used on Cold Stare to save a bit of magic, these runners going into there with at least Tempered or Butter Sword are not going to be too concerned, and will just use a Fire Rod to break Cold Stare Shoal. But we are on the Helmasaur for fight right now for Big Dunka.
And is it me, or is Helmasaur King a little shy?
A little shy.
Yeah. Hides behind that mask. Like, get that mask off, get him to show some confidence, and, you know, slash him in the head a few times.
See, that's why he doesn't show confidence. You're taking advantage of him when he's vulnerable. And Butter Sword was on Lanmolas.
And 20 rupees on Helmasaur King.
And Rambler doing a little bit of a gamble, dipping into Green Pendant Mire. This is completable with his current item set.
Of course, it's not as convenient without the bow and some arrows to fire, especially silver variety.
And Dunka, after visiting Pod, is actually going to go into Eastern and take that last item on Armos.
I think we're getting
Sorry, not Green Pendant Mire, just Pendant Mire. So even more of a gamble.
We're getting a Pyramid Fairy check from Zyrak, so I'd like to refer this to my favorite location, specifically because of my first 3 races that I called, 2 of them had progression on Pyramid Fairies. This is now one of my favorite locations, just for that reason. We're going to see what that is in Zyrak's case right now.
Rambler not finding anything in Mire so far, just a pair of small keys. Looking in the parlor chest first for yet another small key. The big bomb that Zyrak is taking, you cannot dash with it. In most circumstances, it will leave it behind and cause it to explode. But there are some fun exploits you can use with screen transitions so that it explodes as it reaches 0 and it does a bomb dupe.
As Killer App bites Helmasaur King, Zyrak was attempting to dash to the right to check this other side of the pyramid. There's our mushroom, by the way. He was trying to dash over, but the jumping squid was just making it hard for him to get over there. It was jumping his way a couple times, and he had to deal with that.
It'll also be convenient for Zyrak to just go up north and mirror in front of the witch's place to turn in that mushroom.
And this is working out perfectly for him. I don't think he's done Catfish yet, has he?
I do not recall. Rambler finds 1 item in Mire, which is a piece of heart. Gave him a refill, but not what he was looking for. And our second item is Quake. Big Dunka taking care of the Armos Knights. Got a...
Flippers! The Armos Knights had the flippers, ladies and gentlemen. Those Armos Knights are required.
That is an amazing find. Killer App is right on his heels with that bow from Turtle Rock. Gonna get those flippers. That puts possibly Ice Palace into logic, depending if it's hookshot locked or not. And it puts a lot of items in the front of Swamp into logic.
Just the very fact that Swamp Palace is a crystal means those flippers are 100% required. So the fact that Big Dunka made the play to Eastern Palace and found those flippers there, how many runners are going to go back from finding the bow in Turtle Rock? We don't know where the second one is yet, but from finding the bow in Turtle Rock, how many runners will turn around from Palace of Darkness and do Eastern Palace for that pendant? Some would leave that behind. I don't want to try and guess a percentage, but some runners would leave that behind, and it would cost those runners dearly in this qualifier.
Absolutely. Another logical dip, Eastern Palace. But New York Rambler now on going up to Dark Death Mountain will have the capability to full clear Turtle Rock. We'll eventually get those that bow, and we'll see what other goodies Turtle Rock holds holding for us.
Now, Killer App, fortunately, is doing the back of Eastern Palace right now. He will also be very happy he made this decision in about 30 seconds or so, maybe less, as he will be getting his flippers back.
Big Duncan did show us the gentleman under the bridge. It was only, I believe, some rupees this time around, and give us the 2 chests in the waterfall fair.
And just some health in there. And Killer App's happiness is now increased.
The fairy reward from the waterfall fairy is just bees. Okay, it looks like Big Duncan is taking those flippers into Pendant Ice Palace. Well, I guess he figured Pendant Eastern paid off in spades. Maybe Pendant Ice will as well.
He's gambling on Sahasrahla. It's got to be that, right?
3 items in ice, plus 1 on that green pendant. Possible, and would like to find that hook shot to avoid having to do hook shotless Ice Palace or Swamp Palace.
That very being a little bit of a tease for Big Duncan there, was trying to avoid him.
Of course, that hook shot could be in Turtle Rock. It could be on the green pendant. It could be Vanilla Swamp Palace.
Or it could be right here. But it's a key.
Rambler will go and get his small key from this compass chest and give us our first look at the roller room. There has not yet been a ped check. None of the runners have the book that is required for the pedestal checks, as well as the tablets.
Correct. Both tablets are currently out of play, and that ether tablet at this point, probably orphaned by this point because it's very inconvenient trying to get to that. But bombos could be checked on the way to Swamp Palace, so that could come into play when a runner decides if the runner gets the book before going to Swamp Palace.
New York Rambler demonstrating the intended way to use this room without the hook shot having to traverse the long path.
And there are 2 chests up here. Very often a key can end up in one of these chests. Let's see what's here today. There is that key, and there are 10 arrows.
Was seeing the checks earlier from Dunka and Killer App, we knew that there had to be at least 1 small key in there.
Zyrak, realizing just what you said about doing the room the intended way, he realizes he has to do the room the intended way. I think he might have fired that one too early.
Yeah, and question from chat, Fire Rod was vanilla.
He's not going to make it to that door in time.
Yeah, it's going to close right on him.
And around he goes again. And my Rambler about to pick up his bow.
And Killer App also going into Ice Palace with those flippers, avoiding that Swamp Palace play. And I believe we get our first item in ice, which is a pair of triple bombs in the vanilla big key chest.
Zyrak still did not do that room the optimal way. The upper left torch could be the last one lit to give the most time to get to the door, but he still did make it in. He does get his items out of that room.
There's not going to be any opportunity for key stealing from this Hokuboku for New York Rambler because our big key is vanilla in Turtle Rock.
Ooh, Zyrak getting pushed on the platform thankfully didn't end up going for a ride again. He is proceeding into Chompy's room to get his bow. All runners will have 1 bow at this point.
Big Dunka gets the big key in the Freezer room, and in the big chest is our second item, which is 10 arrows.
And my Rambler is continuing into Turtle Rock. This is new ground in Turtle Rock right now, I believe. We've not seen this area yet. Once we clear this room, we're going to make our way down to the left and outside, we're going to be getting to Mimic Cave, which is available with the Mire.
Now, Big Dunk is making the call to not go back around to Iced Tea looking for that third item, and instead is going right to Cold Stare.
This could pay off if the item is on Cold Stare. If it's not here, then there could be something orphaned here. We will find out.
It's about the same amount of time to go back around as opposed to going back into Ice Palace to Iced Tea, but I think going to Iced Tea first would have been a bit quicker. Tempered Sword, Cold Stare, easy does it?
It's the item in the orphan location.
Oh, that's unfortunate. But gets one more item off that green pendant. We'll see if he goes back in or goes to turn in the green pendant first.
And I was watching the Cold Stare fight. Didn't see what was at Mimic Cave. If there was something there, hopefully Jack can fill us in.
And yeah, it could be that hook shot in Iced Tea, or it could be hook shot in this green pendant. Could be hook shot in Turtle Rock. Lots of places for that to be right now still. We're seeing them all checked off slowly, one at a time.
We are going to get another look at Mimic Cave from Zyrak here. I need to remember Zyrak's right behind NY Rambler right now. There's a key in the another roller room there. That was a bottle at Mimic Cave. And Big Dunka just checks the Hasarala.
And there are people in chat saying that since Ice Palace was not hookshot locked, we could have a hookshot on the pedestal.
I only have one thing to say to that. Boing.
Oh, I thought it was you.
That's the second thing.
But New York Rambler has 4 chests to check on Laser Bridge. One of them will be a small key.
And the first chest contains that small key. 10 arrows in the second chest. We have compass in the third chest. He's going to run out of juice here. He's going to have to dodge this laser using normal strats for dodging lasers. Beetle being a little bit annoying right now. It's not willing to fall off. There it goes. Just dies normally.
And Killer App making the same decision that Big Dunka did in skipping Iced Tea.
NY Rambler is gambling by not take. Did he take the south exit? I don't think he did.
He did not take the safety door.
That was a gamble to not take that. Oh, he had a fairy. That's why he didn't do it. But Zyrak is going to gain some time back on NY Rambler going through Turtle Rock here because they're both on that last chest now. Zyrak had a better time with the Beetle, but now he's falling in the gap himself. So it was just a map in that chest, nothing important anyway. And Zyrak falling again.
So our last item is on Trinex. And Big Dunka had mirrored right in front of Swamp to go and check desert checks. And he is going to go and give us our first look at Swamp Palace. Big Dunka is obviously avoiding Skull Woods without that Fire Rod, not knowing that Fire Rod is vanilla. Really, in Randomizer, the vanilla placement is the worst placement for almost every single item.
Including the Fire Rod in today's seed. So NY Rambler crosses the gap, is about to engage a 3-headed turtle. Best way to put that. The head on the left, you have to use ice to freeze it, and then you can either continue using ice or slash it. And their head on the right, you can use fire to burn it, and then again, same idea. Once those 2 heads are down, the third head, which is currently invincible, will eventually come out. When the shell finishes exploding, it will expose the body. You can hit the body a few times with the sword, and that's the fight.
And Big Dunka finding an early big key in Swamp Palace. We had mentioned earlier that this is one of the dungeons that the big key is not required to meet the boss, and the big key can be locked in the big chest, but not in this instance.
That's the other bow. Both were in Turtle Rock.
Alright, so all of our runners are going to be guaranteed silvers and at least Tempered Sword. So nobody here should have any issues with Ganon.
Not that we didn't expect any runners in our field to have issues with Ganon, but yeah, anyone who might have otherwise had issues with Ganon has a Silver Arrows today, as you said.
Killer App trying to put something in ease by going and not double checking, but checking Lumberjack Ledge for the first time.
Yeah, Killer App just checking that right now. I thought he checked that already. I'm surprised to see him check that now.
Only a map in the big chest of Swamp Palace.
We're getting a Spike Cave check. I don't think we've seen this yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We have from both Duncan and Killer App. It was 3 bombs.
Nothing
and we get
important.
a vanilla compass in Swamp.
And we still have no hook shot, so Zyrak's going to... Is he hovering?
Looks like he is setting up for a hover.
He is trying to hover. Let's see if he can do this. He picked up the pot instead. He'll try again.
This makes sense for him because he's still looking for those flippers, not knowing that they're on the Armos Knights. But we know he's not going to find anything useful because the hook shot is not going to lead to itself.
Unfortunately, no. Now, because Zyrak did pick up that skull pot there, he cannot bonk down to that lower chest right now. So he is entirely reliant on the hover for this attempt.
And Killer App is in Skull Woods. Is going to pick up his fire rod and flute very shortly.
He seems to be having difficulty with the hover today, and he has given up, it looks like.
Not even checking the bonkable chest, which is in logic with those boots.
Because he picked up the pot, he couldn't, but he decided it wasn't worth going back in to check it. NY Rambler does pay off everyone's favorite contortionist, Kiki the Monkey. He is now in Palace of Darkness.
And we're about to get the first of our left side swamp checks.
There's our book in Swamp Palace.
Okay, so that puts those tablets into logic. I imagine immediately after this other left side chest, if it's not the hook shot, he'll be checking the Bombos tablet.
What do you think
checking
the odds?
Head probably at the same time.
What do you put the odds for hook shot being on the Bombos tablet at?
Well, considering the checks that we have left, I would say about 1 in 4.
It would be upsetting if it's on the Ether tablet at this point, knowing that this is a palace that we have to complete, and we're gonna have to come back here as a double dip. So this could be one of those cases where we could have a required double dip if the Book of Medora leads in some way to the hook shot.
Well, it was a long and pointy item on the other side of left side swamp, but it was only 10 arrows.
We are getting that Bombos check that I suspected was going to happen from Big Duncan very quickly after finding that book. We're going to see what is there right now. Hold up your bacon blade, pray to the gods, and you reveal half magic.
All right, a nice find. Not really required at any point. Since Big Duncan does not have that flute, he is going to have to go into Desert Vanilla Way. Oh, I don't think we've seen that shovel check from Rambler or Zyrak, have we?
I don't believe we have. I think you're right.
So that is a potential place for the hook shot.
Oh, someone in chat saying we have seen that.
Oh, that's a shame. So, yeah, I believe we're down to Iced Tea, the Ether Tablet, and the Pedestal.
We are running out of options here. The Pedestal would be a disgusting location to find it in. We did not have a completion of Misery Mire yet, so we must have concluded we've already seen both items in Misery Mire, therefore it cannot be there.
Yeah, we saw both items in Mire.
Okay.
When Rambler went in there.
And we do know the flippers were on the Eastern Palace pendant boss, the Armos Knights. We do have completion of Ice Palace, and we only have Ice Tea Room left in Ice Palace. So yeah, even for pendant dungeons, we're almost out of locations. We have 2 items to check there. That's about it.
That is indeed it. And Killer App gets his flute from Mothula, as well as his first 5/6 crystal.
And why Rambler getting his bombos out of the basement of Palace of Darkness.
Hopefully both Zyrak and Rambler decide to mirror and go into Eastern afterwards. I think that they will, considering that they know that both Ice and Swamp are locked behind the flippers, and they are looking for flippers and hookshot at this point.
I don't even know if it's going to be a case of looking for flippers and hookshot. It's going to be a case of I'm running out of places to look. I can't get into Swamp Palace. I can't get into these other dungeons. Logically, there has to be something here. So I think at this point, they pretty much almost have to check Eastern Palace and check the Armless Knight.
And yeah, Dunka being the only one who has dipped into Swamp Palace, the only one with the book. Killer App is the only other one with the capability, has not done that yet because nobody likes to double dip Swamp Palace, and everybody loves to go mode it.
And unfortunately, it looks like we are going to be double dipping Swamp Palace today, especially if the Book of Medora leads to it in some way. Now, let's keep in mind that it may not. The Book of Medora probably will not lead to it. It would have to be the Ether Tablet for that to happen. The book is not required to pull the pedestal. Once you have the 3 pendants, that's all you need. You can use the book to read the pedestal, but you don't have to have it to pull the pedestal. So there's only one more item at this point that I feel is locked by the book. If it is not on the Ether Tablet, then the book is not required. It is not considered a double dip, but a lot of runners probably will end up double dipping it.
Right, Killer App is going to be doing the Mire area checks. We'll finish off Desert. See if he finishes off Mire at the same time. Dunka gets his Butter Sword from Landmo. And while we're kind of just looking over as everybody is kind of finishing where that is and looking for wherever that gosh forsaken hookshot may be, just a reminder to give all these runners a follow. They are agreed to being restreamed. We're very grateful for them. It can be a lot of pressure, especially when you're in the high tense qualifier with 95 individuals.
Absolutely agree. And these are all high class runners as well. Why don't we cover where they currently stand on their ranking? Do you want to review that now?
Sure, why not? So Big Dunka, doing the shovel check, is currently 13th. He has done 2 qualifiers. As we mentioned in the beginning, you can do up to 5. Your best and worst are taken out, and the other 3 are average. New York Rambler is next on the list in 40th, but he has only done 1 qualifier so far. Same with Killer App, who is in 61st. And for Zyrak, this is his first qualifier seed.
And all our excellent runners, we do have a lot of great talent in this community. And the beauty with Randomizer is any one runner can win on any day. So anyone you see on this stream tonight, and this also goes with Fear Agent and Walther IV over on ALTTP Randomizer as we do this live as well. Any of these runners could potentially defeat any other runner in this tournament on any day, just by the virtue of being randomizer in certain plays that turn out to be the right plays.
There's a question about a link to the standings. There's no, finalized standings yet. These are just kind of estimates since nobody has completed the 5 qualifiers required. We're looking at Ether Tablet, and it is just bombs.
And thanks to Drossi, who did post a link to our temporary standings in chat. It is not, again, a finalized list at all. It is just what we are using to tabulate the results for the runners in the tournament. Okay,
Big Dunka starting at Sanctuary. Is he going to do Ped Check first, or is he going to clear out Skull Woods? Either way, he will be in excellent condition to clear out both of those items at the same time.
I would just go straight to Skull Woods, because you can go up from the final area, Skull Woods, go straight to the pedestal and get the good or bad news.
And yep, Pyramid Fairy has already been checked. It was nothing of note.
Big Donkey is going to Skull Woods. I'm actually curious if he will do the pedestal check first, or whether he will do Skull Woods first. Most runners do Skull Woods and fight Mothula first, but I have occasionally seen a runner just wanting to get the painful part over with and confirm whether the pedestal is actually needed before continuing with the game.
I mean, sync crystal animations on Zyrak and Killer App screen, while Rambler's making the good play to go into Eastern Palace and will soon get his flippers off the Armos Knights. Big Duncan making a good decision and getting that big key out of the vanilla big key chest. He didn't know that yet, but will hopefully check that and get his fire rod right away.
Hopefully he goes back there. He is heading over to... Yes, he's going to the other entrance. He is going to be getting his fire rod from here. He just has to get across, probably with the bomb. Nope, he's going to go a different way. The vanilla way, I guess, to check the chest at the same time. Now he's going to head back, and now he's going to probably do a bomb jump.
Yeah, so locations for the hook shot left are the Ice Tea Room and Ice Palace and the Pedestal.
And Big Dunka picks up his fire rod, and he might have just thrown up in his mouth a little. So he's going to continue on to Mothula's lair now that he's finally found the fire rod.
Checking the rest of the Skullwoods front for that second item. He's not going to be happy since that is on Mothula in the form of the flute. Killer App is going to go into Mire. We'll see if he completes it. It will be his last pendant, and then he'll be in great position to pull the pedestal.
If it turns out the pedestal does have the hook shot, this would be a great play to finish Misery Mire here right now. If it does not have the hook shot, it's still a good gamble based on what we know.
Exactly. And you know what? For Killer App, if it's a choice between maybe you luck out and find the hook shot here in the front of Mire, it's much better than having to dip hookshotless Swamp Palace. And then you can save some time, you save that mirror transition, you save having to flood the dam.
Zyrak is finally facing the Armos Knights. He is going to get his flippers. He will be the last runner on our stream to do so.
There was a question about the mushroom in Pyramid Fairy. That was checked, and it was only rubies.
So Big Donkey is heading up to fight Mothula right now.
And yeah, he's going to fight Mothula. Hope that he finds his hook shot on there. If he doesn't, I have to imagine that we're going to see a mirror and a ped check right away.
Absolutely. If he finds the hook shot, there's not really much reason for him to check the pedestal at this point, unless he were to looking for the flute. I don't know if it's required at this point, though. So it may not be important for him, just not convenient to have to travel.
We're all just kind of waiting for bated breath, watching a gold sword Mothula.
Well,
we don't get a chance to say this very much.
We already have a complete Skullwoods on Killer App's side. He can't be the hook shot here. That is the flute.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that. I was just saying that.
Yeah.
If he was looking for the hook shot and it was there.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yes. If the hook shot were there, that'd be a great play, and he'd be very happy. But yeah, as you said, as we said, he will be checking the pedestal at this point. He probably just wants to know there's 2 or 3 locations left. This has to be one of the ones that's killing his mind right now. So put his mind at ease. And ladies and gentlemen, get your pedestal hype in chat. We're going to get a check right now. Is it going to be boing? Is it going to be something else? It is boing! We have a pedestal seed, ladies and gentlemen.
I just wanted a nice seed to call. It's late Friday night. Take it easy. Have a good time with the runners. But you know what? That's the way it happens at Rando Be Rando.
So there we go. The last required item. The pedestal has the last required item in this seed, the hook shot. I believe we can say at this point, we are in no mode in the commentary booth. We know where everything is that the runners need to complete this seed. It's just a matter of who will get everything first.
Exactly. And right now, Big Dunko, with that information, has a fantastic advantage. He will be in go mode as soon as he gets the big key out of Misery Mire. Luckily for him, it is not in the vanilla cutscene chest, but it's in the compass room just north of there.
I would argue, like Chad is saying, I would actually argue that it's go mode right now. He knows he doesn't have to check any other chests except to look for the big key, which we still consider being something that is done while they're in go mode. But he's not going to be looking for that Quake medallion, for example, that Killer App just picked up. If he finds the big key, he's not going to stop and pick up Quake. He's just going to go straight to Mothula. So he is in go mode right now. So I think we can say at about an hour and 20 minutes, Big Dunker is in go mode.
Oh, and Killer App is not finishing off Mire. He is not banking on the pedestal. He is banking that hook shot is at the front of Swamp Palace.
Big Dunker not wasting time with the bird toss today, much to chat's chagrin.
No time for memes. It's time to finish this seed. Pedestal seed is a meme enough.
Question in chat, don't I always love calling ped checks when ped check is go mode? Yes, I do. I think that's the second one I've had like that. Beautiful.
The Big Dunker is going to be hoping for a so-called God Mire when the big key is one of these first two chests, either on the bridge or in the spike room. Not going to be so lucky, getting a pair of small keys instead. Both Rambler and Zyrak are in Ice Palace. We'll see if either of them goes to see what that relatively unimportant item is in Ice Tea Room. There is absolutely nothing it could be that these runners would be interested in. We know where all 4 swords are, we know where the silver arrows are, we know where invincibility items are, and our half magic. As well as both male upgrades.
Big Dunker does find the small key. He's going to try to find the quickest way to open as many chests as he can quickly here, and hope that he finds that big key as quickly as possible. That way, as you mentioned, the God Mire, he can just go right to the back. He did find the small key in that chest. He's going to now use that small key to come into this room and access the left side.
He is going to go be checking this chest to get some information. If it's a small key, that he knows the big key is vanilla, but luckily for him,
it's the big key.
He can go straight to the back because he hasn't killed off Trinex. He doesn't have silver arrows. But Butter Sword against Vitreous is not a difficult fight. It would be nice if he had picked up that cape from Checkerboard Cave if you're spamming sword swings while in the goo with the cape on. The magic drains not quite so quickly, but with half magic, he's not worried about that.
And also the fact that he doesn't have to do all the other checks in Misery Mire, and he's not going to waste time finding the Quake Medallion or going to having to move that wall to fall down a hole to get to another item and then a warp tile to come back. He's going to save all that time. I don't think he's going to complain about fighting Vitreous without the silver arrows when everyone else has the silver.
No, for sure. You know what? When he goes and gets those silver arrows off of Trinex, he'd just be like, hey, free Ganon. Why not?
Absolutely.
Rambler taking this moment after turning in his mushroom to go and fill up on potions. While you're in the area, makes sense. You don't want to have to take any risky deaths.
Now you're talking about one more. Sorry, go ahead.
Zyrak getting unlucky with his cold store formation, them splitting right away before he gets a chance to group them.
But he does finish the fight off. He does get his map. And there was one thing you were talking about with Big Dunker being able to pick up the silvers that Turtle Rock can save free Ganon. There's one more thing that we can point out that he's going to get to take advantage of here too. He can do Turtle Rock as his last stop. He did a quick dip to get the first bow. He didn't complete the rest of Turtle Rock like a couple other runners on our restream did. He's going to do all that in one go for the first time and in go mode. While looking for the keys, of course. He still has to open chests to find keys. But once he has that last key on the first chest on Laser Bridge, he's not going to need to open any other chests. He's going to go straight to the boss. So he's going to do Turtle Rock quicker and in one dip, whereas other runners have to do the entire dungeon a second time.
Yeah, unfortunately the layout for Turtle Rock doesn't mean that much time is saved, but he will get to skip out on Mimic Cave because the big key in Turtle Rock is vanilla. And hopefully when he's checking Laser Bridge for his key, he checks top to bottom rather than bottom to top. It's a choice in runners, because if you go bottom to top, that's often a choice when you're getting that safety door. But he does have all 3 pendants, and you know what that means, chat.
Yes, you know exactly what that means. We're heading over to the pedestal right now, and we have the audio on Big Dunker right now, so you're going to get to hear the celebratory pedestal music as we get to pull a required hook shot from the pedestal.
I think it's worthy of a second set of ped hypes.
Yeah, let's have the ped hype again, as we have a pedestal pull. Boing!
See, I was trying to give it some solemn silence for this, magical moment.
It makes a boing noise as it comes out. What do you expect?
Kind of makes more of a schnick noise, but whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, he's got a quick Swamp Palace. Unfortunately, he's already cleared out most of the front, but that was not actually required. So if somebody else gambles on, just going for Pedestal rather than dipping into Swamp, they could save like a little bit of time, but not enough to catch Big Dunka. Rambler is going into Escape, looking for that hook shot, picks up his butter sword, so everyone on Restream is going to have the same equipment. I see Zyrek did complete Eastern Palace and got his flipper, so this will be his last pendant. Have to see if he dips out after getting both items or goes and gets the pendants and does a blind pull of Pedestal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think any of the other runners have checked the pedestal yet. So this is still information that no one else on our restream knows. I'm sure other runners in our race, again, we have 95 people in this race. I'm sure other runners in this race have checked the pedestal and have that information already, and they would have an advantage to some extent by knowing that, by not having to check other chests if that's their last item. But it would not be surprising if a lot of runners put that off because they didn't have the book for so long. Some may have already found the fire rod and done Skull Woods, so they wouldn't have any reason to go back and do the pedestal check. And therefore, they end up last locationing it, which means that it puts them at a bit of a disadvantage in that circumstance.
Yeah, and unfortunately in this seed, in order to read the pedestal, you would have to dip and do a hookshotless left side swamp.
Exactly. I guess it kind of worked out that the flippers were on one of the pendants. It was almost kind of suggesting, hey, you need to do this.
I mean, yes, but that means that all three items in Eastern Palace, the sword, the lamp, the flippers, and what was the other item in the mirror? All three items in Easton were absolute value this season.
That's a pendant Eastern Palace for you.
All right. We'll see if Big Dunka goes and tries to pull off the zero cycle hook dash strats against Argus. Not going for that. That's all right.
Killer App having a little difficulty with the maze, with the switch room here. Finally gets down to the bottom, going to refill his magic. He's completely out, and he's going to head over to his Trinex fight.
And that's an easy Argus for crystal number 6 for Big Dunka.
And all he has to do now is climb the Turtle Rock, and he's going to get to see that the silver arrows are on Trinex, and that's going to make him feel really good going into Aghanim's tower. Or Ganon's tower. I did it again.
Well, you know what? Aghanim is at the top.
That's why I do it.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. And Rambler, rather than gambling on Pedestal, is going into Swamp Palace. Will likely get that book and follow the exact same path as Dunka did. Now, because Rambler has already finished off Skullwoods, he will likely, again, leave Ped Check to last.
And a lot of runners, like I was suggesting, will probably just think it can't be the pedestal. There's no way, especially some that don't understand the Ice Palace logic and think that the Ice Palace can't be locked by the hook shot. Like, you have to be able to complete it to get the hook with the hook shot in order to finish it. Some may not understand that logic, so this can be really, really challenging for some runners who may not be as experienced with that logic.
And yep, as chat says, you know, that's why they're playing and we're talking about it.
Exactly.
Okay, Killer App is gonna go and get their disappointment from Pyramid Fairy. It looked like Zyrak mirrored out of Mire, and then he changed his mind and is going back in. Do not believe that was I don't know if that was an intentional mirror or not.
He might have thought, okay, I got both items, I'm done. Oh, wait a second. He might have concluded it has to be Pedestal.
Yeah, we're since he thinks that book is on Pedestal. That's another thing that could come up to his mind.
That could come up too, yeah.
But it just shows you how much runners hate to do Swamp Palace when not in go mode.
Exactly. So if he doesn't go into Swamp Palace to get the book, this would be a blind pull. This will be his third pendant. He does have the other two, so he must have just thought, you know what? I'm here already. It won't take too long. Let's just do it. Let's get this over with, and let's go get my heart. Oh wait, that's actually something I need.
Big Duncan knows that the big key in Turtle Rock is vanilla because he had no keys coming out of Chomps.
Killer App is going to give us our mushroom check, it looks like. Piece of heart.
Yep. Not what he was looking for. See if
he's showing his pleasure at getting a piece of heart from the witch.
I wanted a boingy boing.
That was more of a bing bing bing.
And yes, swamp was left side swamp. Zyrak gets his third pendant from Mire.
I think when Zyrak goes up to the pedestal, which is where I think he's going to go right now, I have a suspicion that's where he's going to go right now, at least anyway. I think he's going to be very happy that he didn't waste time trying to hover, because he wouldn't have found anything there that we think is of value.
You know what? I unfortunately put words into Big Dunca's mind. I said he knew that the big key had to be vanilla because he had no small key coming out of Chomps. Yeah. He tried to steal the key, save a little time. Unfortunately, cannot do that this seed.
Yeah, he you had to put words in his mind, didn't you?
I'm sorry. It's mind of me, not mind of Big Dunca.
Is this a commentary curse?
I would say that I'm very cursed.
Ah.
Anyway, Rambler is about to go pick up his book. Will likely follow in footsteps while Zyrak gives us a blind ped pull.
Boing.
And is all business. No rage slashes. Just cool, collected. Let's get this seed over with.
So I think he has a mixed regret of not being able to do the hovering in the first place, and then it was now been replaced with, oh, I didn't need to do that. I'm glad I didn't waste too much time there.
Exactly. Rambler's gonna get his half magic from the tablet.
Zyrak will probably not be getting that half magic at this point. To him, the book is just reading material now.
Yeah, and he's not going to left side swamp at this point.
No. And then we're getting his bottle of blue goo from Agahnim. It's worth noting we have found all 4 bottles in this seed, by the way.
I mean, there's not that many checks left unchecked at this point. I believe we have seen everything outside of Ganon's tower.
I think you're right.
With the exception, I guess, of the back of Swamp. There's the 2 flooded chests, the waterfall chests. That's it.
Oh yeah, because our runners are in go mode, won't be checking those. You're right. But yeah, we've found pretty much almost everything in this seed, and the only question will be how many of those chests in Ganon's Tower, those 22 chests that we'll get to in a moment when Big Duncan finishes this dungeon. How many of those chests are we going to need to open to get to the big key? We'll talk about that in a second, though, because there's a game we'll play. Don't put numbers in chat yet, anyone. We will get to that.
Oh, yes, and thank you, chat. The other 3 chests in Hookshot Cave.
Oh, yes, Hookshot Cave, of course, too.
Rambler, not finding what he was looking for at the Ether Tablet, is again gonna go and do that pet check and get the bad news.
Well, I don't know if it's bad or good news at this point, because it's the last time you need. At least you know it's there. But he has 2 dungeons to complete to do it, so yeah, for him I'd say it's bad news. And Big Donkey gets his silver arrows, and ladies and gentlemen, those of you watching live, we have a game we like to play here, and we're not going to run the bot because this is a open race, but we are going to ask you to put your guesses in chat as to where you think, from 1 to 22, that big key is located in Ganon's Tower today. We are going to go in chronological order from the order that Big Duncan opens the chest, not by what room it's in or where you would imagine that chest number to be, by whatever order he does. So with that said, Minabe, what chest do you think it's in today? What chest number?
I always go for 15, which in standard routing is the vanilla big key chest. How about you, Cyclone?
I don't know if you need to ask me that, because it's always 11, because, well, always. Of course, the way that I would route that, if it was me, would be in random room, and this includes whether you do the 2 on the right side or not. You can put 11 in random room in both scenarios. I should also add that the torch does count as a checked location, because even though you don't actually open it, even if you don't pick it up, it is considered a checked location.
And Dunka is checking the torch first, not going to Hope Room.
And goodbye, Bob.
We find a small key in check number 1. Continues to go left, is going to go up to the Salphos room. We'll see if this is a full left side, or if he goes for so-called Dark Magician strats.
We will find out. That will put my 11 in the compass room then.
Number 2 was 10 arrows. Number 3 is a big 20. Number 4, another small key.
Ooh.
And number 5 is our mirror shield.
Number 5 was the alternative mirror, which is not as important. And he is doing Dark Magician strats, by the way.
Alright, 6 and 7 in the Hope Room.
Key. Bombs.
It is continuing right. Are we going to get a tile room check, Cyclone?
No. And he just went through. Most runners will not check that. At this point, there are some that will feel like they're behind. Maybe they will gamble it. At this, like, look at the time. We're an hour and 40 minutes into the seed. Some will feel behind. But knowing what we have to go through in this seed with the required pedestal hook shot, I don't think it's going to be as many people gambling it as you otherwise might think at this point.
All right, coming up to the compass room for 8 through 11.
Number 8 is money. Number 9 is a map. Number 10 is money. Is this going to be it? No, it's a big 20, more money. We're off to the left side again. Or maybe he's going to do Bob first. Let's see. Nope, he's going to go back to the left side.
Rambler having a nice, easy viddy fight with those silver arrows, and will be on his way to the pedestal very shortly.
Now, this is the reason why I'm a little confused why runners would stop at the after the 5 chests and go to the right side instead of continuing to random room, because you can actually finish all the chests when you go to the right side after random room. I'm surprised that actually isn't a route. I wonder if there actually is some timing logic behind that.
It's mostly just routing in rando room, since you've got the 4 chests in there. It's more item dense if you go this way.
I see.
But number 12 in the double firebar room was a big 20.
I'm being told that route I talked about does exist, something like Modify Dark Magician.
And Zyrak is hot on Big Dunka's heels. If he does end up going full left to Rando Room, this could be very close.
Now, we should point out again, there are 95 runners in this race, so regardless of who wins on the restream among these 4 runners, there are a number of other runners in this race. We will try to cover at least some of the top runners in the race. Regardless of where these runners finish, we will try and cover the top runners in the race and find out. There's number 14, the big key. I think that was 14. So we will cover all the runners who did finish in the top of the race when we do have a finisher on stream.
But Zyrak is also going to be doing Dark Magician strats. So it's not going to be as close unless Big Dunka has an unfortunate Ganon's Tower Gauntlet. But with the runner of his skill, I would not imagine, especially with Butter Sword, Red Mail, and Silver Arrow.
So for the purpose of our big key game, we like to give a shout out to whoever wins, and we did have a guest of 14 in the chat. So I will give a shout out to Tarnished Wit. Congratulations on winning the big key guessing game. Might have made we have a prize.
Absolutely. You receive a shout out that happened a good 20 seconds ago.
Yes.
Please enjoy.
Congratulations on that shout out.
And Rambler finishing off his last pendant. He actually had dipped out of ice after getting all 3 items. We had said earlier that the last item was an iced tea, but I was mistaken, and they had picked up all 3 items. Big Dunka making his way through the gauntlet. Gauntlet number 1 is just enemies on conveyors. Gauntlet 2, you add Emos.
These are the hardest rooms in the game, but you wouldn't know it right now.
Yep, he is making them look easy. Gauntlet 3 adds ice. Adds spikes. Gauntlet 4 adds ice. And number 5, how about just another shooter along the way?
And with the red mail and, not as many hearts as some of our other runners, 12 hearts, it's not too hard to go through the rooms with that kind of power. The gold sword, of course, melting enemies, literally. So, it's not surprising that these rooms are not difficult by the time this point with all the equipment you should have by this point.
Gets a nice 0 cycle Landmo on his way up. Floor number 5. One of the most satisfying rooms in the game is the Wizrobe. And Wizrobes 2 is the second most exciting. Get double pendants from Rambler and Killer app of different colors, and ooh, Big Dunka takes a fall and the conveyor belt's on his way to the torch.
So Big Duncan now doing that 5th floor torch puzzle right now, and this is a torch puzzle. Once completed, you go through the door. It is possible to soft lock Ganon's tower at this point if you go up the staircase with bad timing as the door shuts in the prior room. If you do it on the exact frame that the door closes, you just heard it right now. So if you do it on the exact frame that the door closes, you despawn all the enemies in the tower and you're mirroring back to the beginning of the tower. If you don't have the mirror because you never had to pick it up, you have to save and quit and go back to the start and come climb the mountain all over again. Killer Rat picking up his hook shot right now. And White Rambler right behind him with the bomb to greet it. That was just a firework, I think.
Just add to the excitement.
Yeah, fireworks. We like fireworks.
Easy Moldorm 2 with the Butter Sword. And Big Dunka is on to the Agahnometry fight.
And this is the hardest. This actually, in my opinion, is one of the hardest rooms in the game, even more than the rest of the gauntlet that Big Dunka just went through. It is so easy to get thrown off by the bumpers into the spikes, take some unnecessary damage on the way to this much trickier Agahnim fight than the one that you get that we did not actually have to see. I think that was a double. I don't think all 3 counted.
No, I don't think so. The 2 shadow clones will always send real balls, but the real Agahnim has a 50-50 chance of blue balls, and that was a very nice Agahnim fight.
And I think that was a triple, because that last hit was just one, so that was a triple in the first frame. I didn't see it correctly, apparently. It is hard to tell sometimes. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Big Pig. And now the most important question in chat, what kind of wisdom is Ganon going to give us today? One of the last things we get to see in any seed is what Ganon likes to talk about, and he has some interesting things to talk about. So let's see what he says today.
Geez, facts, geez, facts, geez, facts.
There was a time when... Oh, this is Toby Keith's song. How Do You Like Me Now, Toby Keith's song. So Ganon has 4 phases. We just saw the first phase. He throws a trident at you and doesn't know how to hit you. Then he throws a ring of fire at you by swinging the trident in his claw. And the fire bats don't know how to hit you. They think they're homing on you, but they're not. He's already done both phases. Time to wait for him to stop teleporting so he can actually put him into a temper tantrum. But Ganon is not being cooperative.
Buttersword makes this very easy. The first 2 phases take 6 flashes each. Regardless of sword level, as long as you've got Master Sword or higher, the the third phase will take 4 slashes.
Ganon, please stop teleporting. We want to finish you off. Killer App and NY Ram are both going through Swamp Palace right now.
There we go. Last teleport wasn't too bad. And yes, oh no, silver is my one true weakness.
Yes, silvers. It was free. Nice triple to finish. So
that is a beautiful fight.
Big Duncan will be our first runner on the restream to finish, and I'm going to check in our log to find out what his official SRL time is as he crosses the line. Now the question in chat is, do you think he has won this race today? Get your guesses in chat quickly as we are about to reveal that Big Duncan has finished in 14th place today with official SRL time of 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 39 seconds. 14th place out of this field of 95. Not a bad finish at all. Get your GGs in chat. And I'm just we're watching Zyrak go into Agonometry right now. We will cover we want to finish with him right now because he is nearly finished, but we will go into the other finishers on stream momentarily. We're also going to see if Big Duncan wants to join us to chat about this seed as well.
Consider it.
I think we already hear Big Duncan in the chat with us.
Hey, everybody.
GG. Well, we're just watching Zyrak finish right now as well. I'm sure you've been watching on the restream, so we don't want to take away from him because he's almost done as well. But while he goes to Ganon, what were your quick thoughts on that seed today?
I was grateful it was a ped seed so that I didn't lose 15 minutes leaving the fire rod and skull.
And we thought you made a great play getting the flippers on at Eastern Palace when you did. We thought that was going to be a great play, thinking, okay, so that's the pedestal. If that's not needed, that's a great play because you're going to get an item that some runners will probably pass up, and then all of a sudden you had to get the pedestal and everyone had to do it anyway. So there was no advantage anymore by getting that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing it did is it gave me the book, which then, gave me the information instead of just blindly going to Mire and clearing it. But that kind of offset the Swamp Palace play, I think. But I left the cane there too long. The rod. It got to a point where if it was there, I was just gonna beat that anyway.
Yeah, I was suggesting when you found that you probably threw up in your mouth a little bit. Would that be an accurate estimation?
I mean, it almost had to be. It was that or the hook. The hook would have been 1,000 times worse. Because that would have put me back to Death Mountain, to Hookshot Cave, back to Swamp, and that would have just been so much worse. The fire rod was actually probably pretty tame. And then the fact that it was a ped seed really kind of offset it. So it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, chat was really happy to find the hook shot was on the pedestal. We were
sure they were.
Even here in the booth, we were down to, I think, Iced Tea Room. And I think there was one other location that I'm forgetting about, mind of me.
It was only Iced Tea, and even then that was a mistake because we hadn't seen that you had already picked up all 3 items in Ice Palace.
Yeah, Ice was clear.
So it had to be pedestal at that point.
Yeah, it was pad. The only thing I hadn't checked was Graveyard Ledge. On mine is Graveyard Ledge and Skull.
So Zyrak is just finishing the Ganon fight. We're going to get his time in a moment here as well. Once he crosses the line. And Zyrak, looking on the list here, he finishes... Wow, a lot of finishes came in that small space of time. 29th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 51 minute, 45 seconds. If you don't mind, Big Dunk, I just want to cover the top finishes of the seed today, the top 10 if I can. Some of the runners in the top 10 today include SAGTG, Solski, Walter IV, who was racing on ALTTP Randomizer, so you would have seen him finish in 8th place if you were bringing that up with this today. Prior 57 in 7th. We had Ninban in 6th place. I want to cover the top 5, especially 4th place, because we have a tie for 4th place. Jolo Ninja and Aussie 101 with a 144.35. Wayne came in 3rd with a 144.32. Jet 82 with a 143.29. Mine and me, who do you think won this race?
You know what? It looks to me like Salty Fry won in 1st place with a time of 1:40.18.
A fantastic time for a seed like this. And get your GGs in chat for all of those runners I've named as well. All fantastic runners.
Exactly. So we have Zyra. Just feel in the setup room. We'll try to get him in here. GG, Zyra.
Thank you.
GG. So I'm trying to remember. I think you did a blind pull. So what was your reaction? Or did you already know by that point that the hook shot was on the pedestal? What was your reaction to that?
No, it could have been in front of Swamp still, but
okay.
I wasn't shocked, honestly. Once Mire, okay, so what happened in Mire was I got both items figured out and then realized like the pedestal is still a thing, so I had to go back and kill the boss. Once that sort of clicked for me, I was like, it's gonna be there because somebody is gonna do Eastern with that bow right away, and as soon as they do that, somebody is going to go in front of Swamp to see if they can just go into Swamp and finish. So with nobody done, I was like, I don't know, I felt the odds were really low, so I wasn't shocked.
And just knowing that Big Duncan did say he's going to step out, so GG again, Big Duncan, congratulations on your finish today. Very good finish in a field of 95 runners. Good luck in future qualifiers to you, Big Duncan. And with that said, yeah, how do you feel your... compared to with the kind of seed this was, how do you feel regarding your performance in this seed?
Mixed feeling. I really liked my first hour and 10-15 minutes or so for the most part. Mm-hmm. But I had some execution errors that are not typical for me. I don't know what happened on Rock Laser Bridge. That was Clown Fiesta. Couple of other spots. And I usually don't make that play in Ganon's Tower to make sure I have a key to go right. I tried that to see if I could pick up some time because I knew we were going to start finishing shortly. So I was hoping if it was, no key on the right side, big key on the right side, I could pick some time up. Didn't wind up happening. So those are, those between the mirroring out of Mire, those execution errors, and that big key gamble, that's 6 minutes probably, give or take. And that was the difference 9th and 6th, so I can't be too upset, but I would prefer not to have had that happen.
It was unfortunately a somewhat linear seed, despite the fact that we got both Titans and Hammer quite early. Just gating off, that you had to go and double dip Eastern, do the full Death Mountain loop to get your boots. You could have saved time, maybe gambling on Hera Basement being nothing. But there was really only one route through this seed without any extra optimizations.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really you could do is if you opted Turtle Rock for dipping pod, that saved you a double dip in pods and both bows PR.
Yeah, but that's possible with the Fire Rod and Skullwood.
Yeah, so other than that, which is what I did. I don't know what other... That's what I did. Other than that, yeah, you're right. There really wasn't all that much. I almost went into Mire after I fixed Desert. I'm a big proponent of just doing what's geographically close to you, whether it's Crystal Pendant Dungeon or whatever. I usually don't really care. Really glad I didn't, because I would not have gone down and killed Vitreous, so...
And we thought here in the booth, Big Dunk was the first runner on the restream. I don't know about the race overall, but the first runner on the restream who actually went back to Eastern Palace with the bow and actually found the flippers. And at the moment, we thought that's a fantastic play. The pedestal very likely, of course, at the time, the pedestal may not be required, but at least, and if that's the case, then that's a fantastic play because a lot of runners may put off doing Eastern Palace or even doing Pod and Eastern Palace together in some cases until they run out of locations for progress, and then they go back and, kind of last location where the flippers could be in that circumstance. We thought he made a great play, and then all of a sudden we got to the point that we were running out of progress. It was like, okay, now we have to pull the pedestal. Everyone's going to have to do that anyway. Where's the advantage now? Because now you have to do all three pendants.
Yeah. The pedestal really sort of forced you, like Mind of Me said. The pedestal really kind of forced you to do everything. Like there was some certain in and out order stuff you could do. Like if you didn't do Skullwoods without the fire rod, that would have kind of sucked for you. Doing Turtle Rock before pod dip, but other than that, yeah, everybody was kind of gonna get pulled together there at the end, and it's nerve-wracking the whole time because, like, when I'm doing Ice Palace and Ice Palace comes up blank, I'm like, okay, well, I had my one guess came up short. Gonna do Mire now, and then I'm thinking I guessed strong there too, and then like, oh my god, Ped is still a thing. Yeah.
So this was your first qualifier, if we're reading the sheet correctly.
That's correct. Yep.
So how do you feel about your finish overall? And are you going to do just 5 or more than 5, or are you going to just wait and see for your qualifier?
I'm planning to get most of my 5 finished within like the next 10 days or so. So after that's up, I'm definitely not opposed to doing more than 5. I think it's probably more likely that I will than I won't, but it will depend on what this time's.
Some runners prefer like the Ped seeds because it's a nice all dungeon seed. They know they're not going to be, pulled off guard by a so-called gamble play. What are your thoughts about all dungeon seeds like that?
Generally, in most of the time, I prefer if I take my execution against the field's execution, I'll usually take that. So yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent, which is part of the reason why I have mixed feelings on the result. Because, like I said, between Turtle Rock, Laser Bridge, and a couple of other spots, like I easily pitched 5 or 6 minutes that I normally should, which is a big difference in a close race like this.
And just to follow up with Killer App and NY Rambler, who are still racing on our restream, Killer App just finishing the Agahnim 2 fight, off to Ganon for him to get some Toby Keith singing. NY Rambler just finishing Moldorm 2 on his way to Agahnometry right now.
At least on the restream, it was a pretty even field, I would say, in terms of routing and execution. I mean, you couldn't really avoid all the swords and the mails and everything. Since you were able to avoid the double dip swamp, you never got the half magic off of the Bombos tablet, but since we didn't have to do Silverless Ganon, that wasn't really a factor.
No, not really. So I was going to ask, actually, you guys said that I had to pull it blind, so I was going to ask if the book was in front of Swamp, and obviously it was.
Yeah, it was left side Swamp.
Left side.
Yeah.
Left chest.
All right. Kind of glad I didn't. Kind of glad I at least avoided that thing. I really can't complain about my routing at all, honestly. I would have liked to have the execution up a little better. I think I could have been, if I was playing like at my A+ level, I think I could have been, in the top 5, which just have to practice more and get back in the flow and get there.
Speaking of execution, what did you think of the first 2 Ganon warps in Phase 3?
Man, like I am sitting there, like, come on, and like you're watching people finish in the race room, like, dude, stop! Like, yeah, no, that was.
This is
I don't have.
painful.
Yeah, I can't say the words I have for that on, so I'm not gonna do a little further with that.
Probably a good idea. And we are watching both in the Gan fight right now. I'm sure you have the restream up now as well, of course. They are both fighting Gan right now, so we should have their finishes very soon as well. Keep in mind that the race room starts 20 minutes ahead of time, so that the runners are able to have the make it as fair a contest as possible. Obviously, won't go into more detail about that, but it does. The runners are 20 minutes ahead. That means they are able to watch the restream once they do finish and see how some of the race goes as they are already finished. And we do have to come. Go ahead.
Yeah, Killer App crosses a bridge and finishes in 64th place overall with 2:01:40.
And Rambler should not be far behind here. And his, I think we can go ahead and say the placing. It was 64th place. Still not bad out of a field of 95. It is around the 2/3 mark in the field. That shows you what kind of field we have here. NY Rambler and Killer App are both great runners. But it just shows the quality of the field when you're in the right around the bottom 2/3 section, or at the border of the 2/3 at the bottom of the field. So it just shows what kind of quality we have in this tournament. It's hard to pick any 4 people who could win on any given race.
And please get your GGs in chat for both Killer App and NY Rambler.
And
Finishing off this Pedestal seed.
NY Rambler crossing the line now. We do have him with a 2:02:39, and he was only a few places behind. And that was in 67th place, so 3 places behind Killer App. We'll see if they both want to come chat about this as well. While we wait to see if they do wish to come in, I just want to cover very quickly. I'm going to bring it back up so I can give you the right information here. The next race in this series of qualifiers is going to be tomorrow. So you don't have to wait very long for qualifier number 5. It will be currently listed as Speed Gaming 3, I believe is what we have it under right now. That is at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon. So literally go have a nap after we wrap up here, and 13 hours from now we're going to be back on the air with more Link to the Past Randomizer. Qualifier number 5 will be airing then.
And we do have Killer App and New York Rambler waiting, and we'll just get them in here and have a nice little chat.
Yep, we'll bring them in right now, and as we bring them in, you can go ahead and bring them in. There we go. So I want to welcome them to the commentary booth, NY Rambler and Killer App. GG.
GG to both of you.
So we'll start with Killer App, since you did finish. I believe you finished first here, if I remember my order correctly, of the 2. So what were your thoughts on that particular seed today?
About like my first qualifier, last location, couple items, about where I expected to finish.
And then I remember, what were your thoughts about that hook shot on the pedestal today?
That was really the only thing that really set me back, because I found the other trolley items, which were in this case the fire around the flippers. I found them both relatively early, and I was just hoping that I had a feeling the hook shot was behind the flippers. I just didn't think it would be that far behind the flippers. They had to do everything else.
Speaking of, you mentioned getting the fire rod early. We do have a question about your routing of the Village of Outcasts in Skullwoods area.
Okay, so when I was first over there, when I got the Moon Pearl out of the Bonk Rocks, all that, and by the time I was done, I had 9 hearts and a Master Sword. So I was like, all right, so let's go to Skullwoods and Thieves Town now, see what's going on. And usually I just would route both of them together, and I just happened to go to Skullwoods, found the fire rod, and I was like, all right, I'll try to find Tempered before I fight Mothula. So I went to Thieves Town first because it's an easier boss for me to kill.
There, that's about what we were thinking. We were just kind of curious why, when you grab that fire rod, you just didn't continue straight to the back. But you know what? Looking for Tempered, don't blame you. That's a nice way. So for both of you, when did Pedestal first get a glimmer in your head? Was it once you picked up that book in Swamp, or were you thinking of it as you were clearing ice?
I was sort of putting it off until I would find like the flute, because I didn't have access to Mire, and I got the flute really late. So of course I actually dipped into Mire but didn't finish the dungeon. I left when I got 2 items.
Yeah, I did the
Went
same
to do Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I did the same thing, except I got the flute a little earlier, so I was over in the Mire area at about like 50 minutes in. I did go into Mire thinking if what I needed was in there, not many people would make that play so early. Once I found the 2 items, one of which is Quake. I just left because Pedestal was not even on my mind. At that point, I just needed bow, hookshot, and flippers at that point. So I went to Turtle Rock instead. I was not even thinking Pedestal when I was looking in the late game until I found Book. And then once I found Book, I was like, and then that's when I checked the tablets, and when the tablets didn't have it, I was like, all right, let's see if it's the Pedestal. I was glad it's there because I left Ice Palace, and I did not want it to be the third item in Ice Palace.
We, in the commentary booth, actually mistakenly include Ice Tea Room in our list of potential locations. We found out later that we actually erred in that. That couldn't have been an item. We already saw all 3 items in the dungeon at that point. So at that point, we didn't even include ourselves that the pedestal was the only thing left. And we were still playing up the drama as to, is it on the pedestal? There it is. Boing, it's right there.
Yeah. I made it to Ice Tea Room. I just ran out of magic, so I couldn't kill the double Freezor room. And that probably had the big key that led to the big chest having the last item.
Yeah.
I was just hoping it wasn't in the big chest in Ice Palace. That was the one. I was just like, all right, if it's pedestal, it's fine because everybody else would have probably checked everything else I did. If it was catfish, I was probably way behind. If it was hobo, I was even further behind.
That was the other thing, that when you went up and checked your pyramid ledge, that you didn't continue on to do catfish, and we were thinking that it was because you were a little bit short for Zora.
It wasn't that I was a little short for Zora, it's just that I wanted to route it in alongside everything in that area. I didn't have the flippers yet, so I couldn't logically go into there. I could have, gotten there by fake flippering or by doing the boot trick, but...
Oh, I was just thinking walking up to catfish and then mirroring and checking Zora.
Oh, well, yeah, I could have done that, but then I would have to come back after I found flippers, if flippers led to hookshot and stuff. I didn't have the bows yet at the point, so I just decided it wasn't worth the time just to go up there just for 2 items.
That's fair. Another question for both of you that I asked earlier. What are your thoughts on doing all dungeon seeds as part of these huge qualifiers? Do you feel that's an advantage for you because everybody is forced into the same route and nobody's going to get with a lucky pull, or do you prefer a little more rando in your rando?
It depends really on how the all dungeons is dealt to you. Like, I don't know how many people would immediately check Eastern just to kill Armos for 1 item, as opposed to going elsewhere.
I can answer that very quickly if you don't mind. I actually recall Big Duncan made a very early play into Eastern Palace after he had the bow from Turtle Rock. That section of the world was the very next place he went. He actually found that, we thought at the time he had a really good play getting the flippers there. We thought that was going to give him a huge advantage, and then the pedestal happened.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. As soon as I left Turtle Rock, I immediately went to Pod, and once I finished Pod, I was like, do you know what? I'm here. Let's just kill Armos, see if it has an item, and sure enough, it did have the flippers, which I knew was required. And that led me to, okay, Hookshot's going to be behind this item. Let's find it and just go on and not have to worry about the rest of the seed. And that's what led me to Ice Palace. I did Ice Palace before I did Swamp Palace, and that turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah, you were following behind Big Duncan for a lot of your routing around the time where you went to Turtle Rock and obviously Eastern Palace and that as well. So you were in tandem with each other for a little while, and then you were in tandem with Killer App at a different point in the, especially towards the end when you finished a minute apart. So sometimes, and this seed I think was open enough, just from what we saw up here, the seed was open enough that there were different items that got put to use in different ways. Zyrak, for example, tried to, and actually we probably could have asked you about this, Zyrak, but you were trying to hover in Hookshot Cave at one point without having Hookshot.
Yeah.
Trying to get to those chests, and it must have felt really good to realize, oh, you know what? I didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah, I did. Once the flipper showed up, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like the seed except for the fire rod. Why does it have to be vanilla, man? That sucks so bad for me.
By the way, shout outs to Killer App's game time, almost exactly 2 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, GG's to all of you. Do any of you have any last thoughts about this the seed or the qualifiers?
Just good luck, everyone, and thank you for the restream. And it is almost getting towards 2 o'clock, so I am going to bed.
Understandable.
Thanks a lot for the comment. Appreciate it.
And with that, yep, very welcome. And I didn't catch who the two were said that. The last person left. Do you want to say anything else?
I believe that was everyone.
That was everyone. Okay, I must have not been counting. Anyway, make sure you follow these runners once again. All put on a fantastic show here, and like I said, this is a huge field. We're going to have a lot of runners that get featured as part of these qualifiers, and we look forward to seeing everyone see how they do in these qualifiers coming up. We have them going on throughout the month of November. So make sure you follow everyone we do feature. They all, I'm sure, would love to have your company. Make sure you follow our trackers as well, Kippy00 and Yoinker's wife. They both did some fantastic work tracking those races, the race for us today. And make sure you also follow my co-commentator, Mind of Me, as well.
And be sure to give Cyclone a follow as well. Just a reminder that we do have another qualifier coming up in less than 13 hours at approximately 2:15 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Currently scheduled for Speed Gaming 3, and just like today, there will be a broadcast on a sister channel at ALTTPR Randomizer. So there again will be 6 runners featured.
And with that said, make sure you follow both Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6 and ALTTP Randomizer and ALTTP Randomizer 2 through 5 so you can catch all the exciting action going on with this tournament and the other events here at Speed Gaming, of course, which I'm not going to go into detail, but Mario Maker 2 Weekly is tomorrow, Cars Tournament, the video game Cars based on the movie, Super Metroid Double Anti-Bingo, Hollow Knight, Zelda 1 Randomizer. This is just a sample of things that are going on here at Speed Gaming, so make sure you check all that out as well.
Thank you all for watching, and Cyclone, last word is yours.
Have a good night, everyone. Again, thank you for watching. If it wasn't for you, we'd just be talking to ourselves. Thank you for watching us do that. May not all your seeds be pet seeds. Have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow.